Welcome back, Focus Learners. Okay, I am absolutely thrilled about today's explainer because we are going to look at a massive, and I mean massive, strategic pivot. We're taking what initially looks like a tiny, super frustrating micro problem, and we're going to pull back the curtain to reveal a macro, literally geopolitical scale strategy. If you're anything like me and you love seeing how seemingly simple systems actually hide brilliant, complex architectures, you are definitely in for a treat today. So let's just dive right into this. What might look like your standard run-of-the-mill business directory interface is actually the One Filipino Directory, or OFD. Behind the scenes of this very screen, an executive literally lost over 30 hours fighting with this UI, just trying to figure out how to edit generic image tiles for completely unrelated categories like automotive and construction so they'd fit a highly specific home health and hospice recruitment strategy. I mean, think about that. 30 hours completely lost to a clunky user interface. But this whole situation really begs a vital question. Are these generic placeholder tiles actually the roadblock to a $200,000 revenue pipeline? Or is this executive fighting an entirely different issue altogether? I want to challenge you to look a little closer here. When we get too bogged down on the aesthetics of a directory, we completely miss the actual infrastructure we're supposed to be building. And that brings us to a pretty brutal, but honestly brilliant strategic diagnosis from our source material. Quote, "You are fighting the wrong problem. You aren't building a directory. You're building capital continuity infrastructure. Trying to retrofit some off-the-shelf business directory with automotive tiles for a specialized home health and hospice marketplace? Well, that is just pure capital inefficiency. It's a complete fundamental misalignment of what the platform actually is." All right, moving into section 1, the 3-vector system. So what does the actual architecture of this thing look like? Well, it's built to support a genuinely massive demographic. We're talking about the 4.2 million Filipino Americans right here in the US, plus the much broader global diaspora. And it does all this through what's called the 3-vector model. Instead of a simple one-directional hiring board where people just kind of drop their resumes into a black hole, this is a closed-loop system connecting 3 major flows: talent, which we call the Sojourner; capital, which is the international investor; and commerce, or product sourcing. Let's break each one of these down. Okay, Vector 1, the Sojourner. This is all about Filipino talent looking for stable work and, this is absolutely crucial, benefits continuity abroad. In the context of the OFD's strategic target, this vector is intensely focused on high-velocity placements for crucial home health roles. We're talking about registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, certified nursing assistants, and hospice specialists. This right here, this is the talent engine of the whole operation. Next up, we have Vector 2, the international investor. Now here's where the whole loop really starts to connect. The stability and the earnings of that Sojourner talent create capital. That diaspora capital then turns around and seeks verified, trustworthy avenues to return to the Philippine ecosystem for serious returns. These investors desperately need a system to safely deploy that capital. And finally, Vector 3, product sourcing. Think of this as a highly verified supply chain. It allows the global Filipino community to easily access authentic goods from back home, which directly supports local Philippine producers and artisans. The real magic here is that these producers are carefully verified for the diaspora networks, basically guaranteeing quality and trust across the board. Section 2, capturing alternative marketing. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is connecting these 3 vectors is awesome, right? But how do you actually monetize a massive piece of infrastructure like this without just, nickel and diming your users? Well, you do it by fundamentally shifting your entire revenue model. The old way is that low-margin hustle, relying entirely on transactional placement fees. The new way, the real structural play here, is capturing existing alternative marketing spend. Think about it. Employers, investors, producers, they already have marketing budgets. You aren't forcing them to create new spend, you're just redirecting their existing dollars into a far more efficient channel. Let's walk through some of these numbers because honestly, they are eye-opening. To put things into perspective, a healthcare employer might easily spend $10,000 to $50,000 a year just on generic recruitment marketing. A fund manager, they could spend up to $500,000 trying to acquire limited partners. And Philippine producers spend thousands trying to reach these diaspora consumers because the OFD platform offers pre-verified, completely frictionless access to these highly specific targets. Those entities are going to gladly redirect their marketing spend right here. And the math on that, it's staggering. Capturing this alternative marketing spend across those 3 vectors could yield up to $2.4 million annually. I mean, that completely shifts the narrative, doesn't it? It proves the immense, tangible value of pivoting away from a simple little directory and building a powerhouse B2B marketing channel. Which leads us to Section 3, building the trust layer. But, okay, here's the catch. To actually command those massive marketing budgets, this platform absolutely has to have an impenetrable competitive moat. And what is that moat built on? Trust. Entirely on trust. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how you operationalize that trust, the Credential badge system. This is not about digging through a 10-page resume anymore. It's about manual, rigorous verification that results in incredibly simple 16 by 16 pixel visual trust badges right there on a profile. It instantly kills friction. A Diaspora employer can see a verified RN license badge and literally make a high-velocity hiring decision on the spot. Right alongside those credentials, we've got language identifiers. Now, in this ecosystem, language is definitely not just some demographic checkbox you tick. No way. It is a highly filterable, deeply monetizable skill asset. Whether we're talking Tagalog, Bisaya, Ilocano, or professional medical English, these identifiers are absolutely crucial. They perfectly match bilingual talent with international employers who specifically need those exact capabilities for patient care.
Section 4, the global trade spine.
Let's zoom out a bit and see how this all builds together. Because all of these elements we just talked about, the 3 vectors, the marketing spend, the trust badges, they culminate into something truly massive. This is no longer just a local job board with some clunky drop-down menus. It is an institutional-grade conduit for data, talent, and capital flowing across the Asia-Pacific and the global diaspora. It is, quite literally, a global trade spine. So to sum up this whole architecture, this platform doesn't just, verify people. Actually, scratch that. It leverages trust to unlock extreme capital efficiency. It optimizes market access for employers, investors, and producers all at once. It's a brilliant, self-sustaining, closed-loop ecosystem. Which leaves us with a final, kind of provocative question to end today's explainer on. I want you to think about your own projects for a second. If you look past the surface-level UI, past the generic templates and the minor, everyday frustrations, what invisible structural advantages or global infrastructures are you currently sitting on completely failing to monetize? Find your 3 vectors, build your trust layer, and you just might find your own global spine. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.